Please confirm if you're able to see my screen.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Thanks.
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, so let's get started. Yesterday, we started with the basic configuration part. We have seen what exactly is Selenium. So Selenium is not a tool. It's basically an open source library for automation of web-based applications only, right? It's we can also call it as an API. We can also call it as a project. We can call it as a framework. So it's purely related to the coding part. There's a company who started this. ThoughtWorks was the one who started this. The developer behind this is Jason Huggins. So he started this project in 2004, and like where he introduced the very first version of Selenium, that is Selenium 1.0. So in this, there were a couple of components that were introduced. One is called as IDE, one was RC, that is also called as remote control. And then we have grid. So these were the three components when Selenium was initially started in 2004. So IDE, it's basically a record and play plugin to your browser. So initially it was available only for Firefox. Now in the latest version of Selenium, it is available for Firefox as well as for Chrome. So it's like every automation tool, they have some record and play functionality. Same way in QTP, in UFT, in RFT, every automation tool has got some record and play functionality. Same way in case of Selenium, there is a plugin to your browser, which looks something like this. Let me see where I've added it. This is Selenium. No, this is not IDE. So Selenium IDE is this. This is Selenium IDE. So it's like a plugin to your browser. If you click on record a new test, you need to give some project name. Let's say I give it a name as Google project. You can give any name. And then you need to give the URL of the website you are automating. So let's say I'm giving it as http google.com. I'm going to click on start recording. You can see a browser is launched. And then here, whatever action that you're going to perform, that action will be recorded. If you see Selenium IDE is recording, it's written over here. So if you type Selenium, if you press enter, click on this, the very first link, and then go back to your IDE and stop it. Give the test name as Google test, click on OK, and right now it's not showing any commands. Just a moment. Let me close this. Normally it should show the commands over here. Pause the exception, pause the execution. Just a moment. If I export the text to Google test, okay, so these are the steps. It has not recorded any steps over here. Let me see why it has not recorded it. If I add a new test.
Sir, could you please start again, start once again with this ID thing?
Okay, let me show it to you again. Just, let me close it. Although IDE is not at all a good plugin to use, but still let me show you some demo on what IDE actually does. So if you click on this, this is a plugin that you can easily download it from, go to Google and download Selenium IDE Chrome plugin. So directly go to this Chrome site, and from here you can install this plugin. Right, I've already added it. So you'll get, once you reach this page, you're gonna get an option of installing. Just click on it, within few seconds it gets installed. So see, when we are recording, we get steps something like this. So open, then click, and all those things, you're gonna see it over here. So if I go back and again open Selenium IDE and record a new test and new project, so new Google project. Steps are very straightforward. So just a record and play plugin, http google.com, start recording, and then I'll enter Selenium, click on Selenium, and click on first link, and now it's being recorded. And then close. You can see all the steps are being added over here. So open, then set the window size, then type, then click, then mouse over it, and close. All these actions are being recorded. If I stop the test, name it as Google new test. And then if this is the play button, click on run all tests. If I click on this, whatever actions that I have performed, all the actions will be again repeated. So let's see. Yes, there seems to be some issue with the plugin. Let me see. It's not executing the next step. Some issue with this. So let me run it again. Yeah, it's running now. And so still there are some challenges with this IDE, and at some time it is taking some time to execute, and now it is going to, let's see, it has not clicked on the link. See, it is waiting for a while and still it is not clicking on it. So we need to add a little delay over here with all these steps, and then we need to execute it. But this is not at all a good plugin. I mean, there are a lot of drawbacks while working on Selenium IDE. If you talk about practically in the industry, no one uses Selenium IDE. In your automation projects, you're never going to find anyone using Selenium IDE, right? What all drawbacks are there? So normally, let's say I have recorded this script. Generally, people, what they do, they right click on this project, and let's say if I stop the execution stop, click on export. If I export it, go to desktop, say Google new test, save it. And now if I open this, you're going to see that these are the steps which are being recorded. So over here, you can see something like that says driver.get. If you remember, when we started, we have added the very first thing, driver.get over here. So get is like whenever you want to navigate to any particular website, you use this function, you use this method, which is called as get. And same thing, you're gonna get it with the record and play. And then rest of the things that you see over here, this is a very simple code, but since most of you are looking at for the very first time who have never worked on Selenium, so you might gonna see that, okay, this is a coding part, this is little tricky. So it's better to get it with record and play, copy it, and then paste it in Eclipse and then use it. So it's not like that. I mean, this coding is very simple. So normally I've seen people take the code from record and play, copy it, and then paste it in Eclipse, and then they use it. But to be very honest, it is very simple. Let's say yesterday we have written a code like this. Let me remove this. We have written a code like this. Driver.get, right? Initially, what we did, we created an object of Chrome driver class, which launched a browser. And then we navigated to a particular website, let's say waytoautomation.com. If I change the URL, if I want to navigate to google.com, I can change the URL over here. If I run this, this will again going to launch a browser and will navigate to google.com. Okay, it's still navigating to Way2Automation. Maybe it is not saved, but it's navigating to Way2Automation. Let's click on it again. Some error in the project. Anyways, let's see. Oh, it's again navigating to Way2Automation. Huh. That's weird. Let me see what errors are coming. Just give me missing some library calculator. That's fine. Actually, we removed that calculator jar yesterday. So let me remove it from here. Okay, all the errors are gone. Now, let me run it again. See, it navigated to google.com. And now what I need to do, I need to type something in the use and in the search field, right? I want to search for something. So how to type, there is again a one single line of code that is driver dot find element by dot name. Now what this line is, don't worry about it for the time being, but see what it is going to do. Selenium. And if I save this, if I run this, it's now going to go to Google and we're going to type Selenium C. And after that, I want to print the title of this page. See, title is Google. So how to get the title? It's very simple. Driver dot get title. That's it. This will get the title. So it is going to get the title, but it is not going to print the title. Let's say I want to print the title. So printing task is not of Selenium. Printing task is of Java. So how we print in Java? We do something like system out println. So we're going to put this thing inside system out println. And if I run this again, you're going to see again navigate to Google and type Selenium. The title is Google. If you go to your console, you'll see Google is printed. And then if you want to quit the browser, you're going to say driver dot quit. So you're calling methods one by one and you are performing action on the web page. And these methods are very straightforward, very simple. So you can see driver dot quit. Quit means quitting the application. Driver dot get title means get the title of the page. Driver dot get navigate to a particular website. Now this is something which is little more, right? But this is again also simple stuff. Once we start with WebDriver, I'm going to explain you what this find element is, what by.name is, what send keys is. Send keys is basically for typing, right? So don't worry about this line for the timing. But rest of the things are very straightforward, very simple. And if it is this much simple, there is no need to do record and play and get this stuff. You can see even from the record and play, driver dot find element by dot name send key Selenium. This is the same stuff that I've written over here. If I copy this and paste it over here, you can see exactly the same stuff that record and play has given me, right? But it is not as complex that I should use record and play feature to get this stuff. Rest of the stuff is also very simple. And at the end, driver.close. You can also use close. You can also use quit. So if I even use close and run this, this is also going to close the browser. So quit is also closing the browser. Close is also closing the browser. Then what is the difference in close and quit? Can anyone tell me what is the difference in close and quit?
Close function is used to close the current open window, and quit is used to close all the related windows which is opened through that
Absolutely.
window.
Absolutely. So at times what happens, we have multiple windows open in the current session, right? There are tabs, there are pop-ups, there are other windows open, but in the current session, if you use driver.close, it is only going to close one single window where your focus is on. If your focus is on home page and you use driver.close, it is going to close only the home page. The rest of the windows will still be open. But if you use driver.quit, it is going to kill the entire session, closing all the related windows. So this is what a difference in close and quit, right? So this is how, I mean, step by step, line by line, we will be writing the code and we will be automating the website. We are not installing any tool. we have just installed the prerequisite. That is, the prerequisite is you need to have JDK 1.8. You need to have latest Eclipse, and then you need to have latest Selenium chart file. These are the three things that you would be needing. And then there is one additional stuff that I have added yesterday, which is this exe file, Chrome driver.exe. This is also called as browser executable file. For if in case you want to work on Chrome, there's a file called as Chrome driver.exe. If you want to work on Firefox, there's a file called as gecko driver.exe. Let's say same code, I want to run it on Firefox. I just need to change the class. That's it. Firefox driver equal to new Firefox driver. That's it. But if I run this now, it will immediately going to throw me an error. See, I got some exception over here. And this is saying the path to the driver executable. See, this is something called the driver executable file. Must be set by WebDriver Gecko driver system property. Now, what is the system property? We're going to talk about it in some time. But what I can do to skip this step, I can directly copy this Gecko driver file, paste it to the root of my project, and it will work. Right? See, I'm going to show it to you. From the area where we have downloaded a file, Chrome driver exe, just a moment. Where we have downloaded it from, we have gone to selenium.dev, the official website of Selenium. From here, we need to go to download. From here, just go down and you will find the browser information. Just expand it. See, these are different supported browser. We downloaded it for Chrome. Now we need to do it for Firefox. So go to documentation. And go to Gecko driver releases. And download the one as per your operating system. So mine is Windows 64-bit. I'm going to download the zip file. Download. And then I expand it, extract it. So this is Gecko driver. I'll copy this. And I'll paste it. That's it. And now, if I run this, you're going to see Firefox is launching. And now, navigating to google.com, we're going to perform the same action. We'll first type Selenium, then quit. See, execution was very fast. We didn't see that it typed Selenium or not. But if I run it again, let's see if we are able to see it again or not. It typed and it quit. So execution is still very fast. You can slow down the execution by adding a little pause. That pause is again not provided by Selenium. That is a Java utility, a Java functionality that we'll be learning in future, which is called as thread.sleep. This is a Java function, a Java class. Thread is a Java class. So we'll be learning about it soon. But for the timing, let's say I give thread.sleep 3 seconds, which is 3000 milliseconds, which is equals to 3 seconds. What it is going to do after typing Selenium, it is going to put a halt of 3 seconds. Although this is not recommended while working on Selenium to use thread.sleep, but still to show you like it is actually typing or not, I've added this delay. See, it typed Selenium and now halted for 3 seconds and then it quit. Right? So don't worry about this code at all. This is very simple code. Once you are done with the Java sessions, once we started again, you should be able to understand it in a very easy way. right? These topics will be very much clear to you, right? But what I want that everyone, whosoever is moving to the WebDriver part, or even you have started new, just try to configure these things on your machine and try to write this much code with your own hand so that you will be very much comfortable while writing code, right? At least this much things, these much things should be working fine on your machine. So that if these much things are working fine, it means you are done with the initial configuration, right? And there is no license required to do this configuration. This is very, very simple, right? Just you need to have a basic machine. It's not like you need to have a very high end configuration. If it is at least 8 GB RAM, although it works fine on 4 GB RAM as well, but 8 GB is recommended because you are using automation, you'll be integrating other tools as well. So at least 8 GB RAM should be there. Windows 7 is supported, but again, if you have Windows at 10, then that should be very good. And then processor, you can have it, right? Very, very basic requirement is there for running Selenium tasks. That's it, right? So this is how Selenium actually works. So you just need to write a little bit of code and perform action, automate your manual test cases, basically writing the single line of code like this.
Rahul,
Right?
after downloading the jar file from Selenium.dev website, no, the latest jar file, where do we need to include that jar file? Because we need to call those constructor and everything, right, from the Eclipse.
Okay. So I'll tell you the steps again. Once you download this jar file, let's say you go to selenium.dev. And you go to download. And from here, you need to download this latest stable version. So this is 3.141.59. You just need to click on this, and this is going to download a 10 MB jar file for you. So it looks something like this. So this is your 10 MB jar file. Now, what you need to do, how you need to import it in your Eclipse, you need to create a new project. So right click, say new, click on project, and select Java project, click on next, and let's say give it a name as Selenium testing. Click on finish. Click on don't create. Right click on your project, go to build path, click on add external archives. Select this jar file, click on open, and that's it. It's done.
Okay.
Now, right click on source folder, click on new, create a new class.
Yeah, the other thing, yeah. I had created the project. I just wanted to import that Selenium jar file. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
All right.
I got it. Yeah.
So whatever.
Even I could install, I mean, set up the Java in Mac also. So it's all working. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. All right, sure. And then
Rahul,
copy the same code over here.
One doubt here, Rahul. Every time we have to create a project, we have to include this file. Can't we have some mechanism where we don't have to include this Selenium jar file every time we create a project?
Yes, we have something for that as well, and we will be doing that only. I'm going to show you those steps as well today. For that, we need to integrate some other tools as well, which is called as Maven.
Okay. Okay.
Right. So now let's see whatever code that we are writing. This code is not going to work till the time we don't have these browser executables. Now, what is the role of these browser executables? So we're going to understand the architecture of Selenium first, how Selenium actually interacts with the browsers. So what happened when initially Selenium 1.0 was launched? So 1.0 was launched. The record and play part was handled with Selenium IDE, but IDE is not very much capable of handling other things. Other things as in, let's say you have written this code, right? You are entering some data over here. So this is your test data. Now, when we add a test, when we do manual testing, when we add test data, we do a lot of permutation and combination, right? We just only not enter one single data. At times there are data in bulk, right? We can enter numeric numbers over here. We can enter alphanumeric numbers, special code. We try to hit that particular text box with n number of test data, right? So normally we don't hard code this data over here. We read this data from some external file. That external file could be a notepad file, could be an XML file. Mostly to maintain the test data, we use Excel sheets, right? So what I don't want to hard code this URL over here. I don't want to hard code the data over here. I want to read these information from Excel sheet. Now, it's not a task of Selenium to do reading and writing from Excel. There is an external third-party Java project, like we have Selenium project. We use Selenium so that we can automate the website. We can call classes, methods, functions, and we can automate the website. Similarly, there is another organization who has actually created a Java project which will help you to do manipulations with Microsoft documents like Excel, Word, PowerPoint. Programmatically, you can handle these documents. You can do reading and writing from Excel, right? You can create sheets, you can create cells, you can align the cell through programming part as well. So there are a couple of classes given, there are a couple of methods available. The same way that you're using Selenium classes, you will be using those classes, and you can read the data and input it over here in your code. So that is not a task of Java. That is not a task of Selenium. For that, there is a third-party project which is called as Apache POI. So there is another project, like we have Selenium. We have added Selenium. Now, how Selenium is available? It is available in a form of a jar file. Similarly, there is a company called as Apache who provides something called as POI API, another jar file. So in the same project, what you need to do, you need to right click, say build path, add external archives, and then you need to search for POI. I have not added it over here. So what I'll do, I'll go to one repository where I can get all these jar files. So this is MVN repository. This is a centralized repository where we get all the open source Java projects. Anything that we want to do reading through Excel. So this is POI, Apache POI, Java API to access Microsoft format files. So go over here, go to this and download the Java. Guys, please put yourself on. Please put yourself on mute. There's a background noise from your end. Okay, so I've downloaded the jar file. Now what I'll go over here and download it. This is POI. I select it and see it's added. Now I'll be calling the classes from this jar, and then I'll be adding those classes in my project, and we'll be doing reading and writing from Excel. So see, reading and writing from Excel is not a task of Slate. There's an external project that you need to add, which is called as Apache POI. Now let's say the data is not there in Excel. I'm maintaining the data in database, and I want to do some database testing as well. So again, database testing, firing queries, reading data from database, it's not a task of Selenium, right? What I want to do when my website launches, there is some data showing on the UI. So what sort of database testing we do? We validate whether the data that is there in the database by writing some queries, a select statement or a inner join or some like complex SQL queries. So we fetch the data from database and validate whether the same data is showing up on the UI or not, right? That we do manually. But through automation as well, we can do it. While running the Selenium code, when the website launches, we get the data from the website and let's say store it somewhere in some variable, right? What are variables? Like we'll be studying about this in Java, but let's take up a scenario. We are getting the data from website, storing it somewhere. We are writing some queries and performing a JDBC connection with your database, firing queries on the runtime, getting the data from your database and validating the data of your website with your database data. So we are going to automate the entire process of doing the database testing part as well. And reading the data from database, connecting to database is not a task of Selenium. It's not a task of Java. Again, there are third party like your SQL, MySQL, Oracle. They provide their own APIs to perform the JDBC connection, JDBC, ODBC for Oracle. So they provide their own APIs. And again, it is available in a form of a jar file. So again, you'll go to this repository, you'll type, let's say MySQL, and you search for it. You get MySQL connector Java. You go to this link, you download the latest one, the latest jar. So this is the jar file, you download it. And same way, like you've added the Selenium jar, you've added the POI jar, you need to add this MySQL jar as well. So right click on your project, go to build path, add external archive, and add this jar file. See? And now you can perform a database connection and you can validate the data as well. Right? Okay. Mitesh is saying so much echo. So guys, are you able to hear fine? Is still there an echo?
No, right now it's okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Sir, I have one question that in POI, we were having 3 POI options.
Yeah, see, it's not just one jar we need to add. There's just an example that I have taken. There are 4 or 5 jar files you need to add. So once we study about the POI API, how to do reading, writing, we'll be adding all those jars.
Okay. Okay.
Right, it's just a demonstration. This is. We're not doing reading and writing right now. Right? It's a lengthy process. We'll be learning all the stuff. Okay. So after this, like not just database, there are many other things that we integrate with Selenium. So what all things that you have heard about that we do when we integrate with Selenium? Can you tell me? Apart from this?
I think log4j for logging
Log.
all the steps.
Okay.
TestNG.
TestNG.
Maven.
Apache Common IO.
Apache Common IO. Okay.
The most important one is Maven.
Maven, exactly.
Yeah.
Cucumber.
Jenkins.
Jenkins. Anything else you've heard about?
JUnit.
TestNG, JUnit, so the same.
Yeah.
Git also.
Git. Yes.
We can do
Git.
some connectivity.
GitHub.
DevOps, can we do
What
DevOps
about-
with the Jenkins?
Sorry?
DevOps with the Jenkins?
DevOps is a process. DevOps consists of so many tools. So it does Maven, there's Git, there's Jenkins, all these are DevOps tools itself.
No, what about Jenkins? It starts with G.
Jenkins is
Jerkins.
a language that
Gherkin
we use
is a
with
language.
Cucumber. Anything else that you've heard?
REST, I think. API.
Test suite.
Sorry?
Is REST.
Test suite.
Test suite is created through testing.
TestNG.
Yeah.
Yes.
Prakhar, Kubernetes. Yeah, there's so many integration we can do. Yeah. Extend report. Okay. Anything else apart from this?
We can take screenshot also.
That is done with the help of WebDriver. That is done with the help of Selenium. So these,
Okay.
so you can see there are so many stuff. In case you are using record and play Selenium IDE, you cannot achieve this stuff. You cannot integrate Cucumber, you cannot integrate Jenkins, you cannot integrate extend reports. All these things are required in your project, in the framework that you will be working on. See, we have seen POI is required for reading and writing through Excel. JDBC is required for database connectivity. Now, let's say I have automated the entire website. When I run the test execution, it takes somewhere around 4 hours to finish the entire execution. Now, at the end of the execution, once the execution is done, how will I come to know that each and every action is performed or not? Whether the script has clicked on each and every element, whether it has typed on each and every element, how will I come to know? So I'll be maintaining some logs in a text file, right? So that each and every action should be reported with a current timestamp. Something like at this particular time, Selenium has clicked on this link. On this particular time, minute, second, Selenium has typed the username, typed the password. So each and every action should be reported in a text file so that if the script breaks between or if there is any exception that happens in between, we should come to know with the help of that log file. So Selenium task is not to report the logs, not to generate the logs. For that, there is a different organization who have provided their own API that is again given by Apache, which is called as log4j API, which is another jar file. So we need to add this jar as well in the project, right? So, okay, we have added the logs, but at the end of the test execution, what we want from the automation results, like when you are testing any application, at the end you need to provide some reporting. How many test cases are passed, how many test cases have failed, right? Let's say I've executed this step, this test, right? There could be like 4 or 5 test cases over here. Test cases like verify user is able to navigate to the website, verify user is able to type in the input box, verify user is able to get the title, right? So let's assume there are 4 or 5 test cases over here. Are we seeing anything in these logs in console that okay, 5 test cases were executed, out of which 4 are passed and 1 is failed? Are we seeing anything such like this? Even if the 4-hour execution is done, at the end, if you don't get this result, like 100 test cases were executed, 90 are passed and 10 are failed, what is the purpose of automation then? Just executing the test. If you're not getting anything in the test results, this is what we do in manual testing. If expected is equal to actual test case pass, otherwise test case fail. But here we are not getting any pass or fail information that how many test cases were there. This is because Selenium task is not to convert your code to test cases. Selenium task is only to hit the browser, hit the elements on your website and perform the execution. That's it. In your entire project, Selenium is used only 25%. 75% are these things which you need to integrate in your project. So this is a task of your TestNG framework or the JUnit framework. JUnit is quite old. People are not using JUnit in automation. They are using TestNG. Both TestNG, JUnit, the purpose are same, right? These are your automation. These are your testing frameworks, like your unit testing framework. Developers also use JUnit to perform unit testing on their code, right? And same way, we'll be using TestNG and we'll be converting our existing code to test cases and test suite. And what TestNG is? TestNG is another framework, another API available in a form of a jar file. So if you go to Eclipse, it's something like You right click on your project, build path, add library, TestNG, next, finish, and you're gonna see TestNG jars are added. Right? So these are all the jar files. Not provided by Selenium, not provided by Java. This is provided by a different organization. Right? So that's the reason why we use TestNG. Then we have something called as reporting part, where we have extend reports, we have report ng reports, we have allure reports, we have TestNG reports. So at the end, once the test cases are executed, you need to send the test results to your client, to your test manager. So how are you gonna send it? You need some HTML report to be created. That is something like, if I show you how extend reports looks like, I'll go to one of my projects. It looks something like this. See, how many test cases were executed, how many of them are passed, how many of them failed, each and every step being recorded, typing in first name, entered the value as this, last name, postcode, test case passed, test case skipped, test case failed, right? And over here, you will see the overview, how many are getting passed, failed, skipped, who was the automation test engineer, organization. These are extent reports. There are a number of interactive reports available. If I go back over here, and let's say if I open this, so there's another, okay, these are also extent reports. So nothing failed. At times of failure, you can capture a screenshot as well. Let's see, where is the failed test? All are pass. Yeah. See, so you can add the complete exception, that what was the exception while you were typing the username, clicking on the sign in button. So there was exception happened, and then you've captured a screenshot of failure as well. So all these things can be added, the start of your test case, the end time of your test case, and an overview, something like this. So this is the detailed extent report. Same thing can be done with other reportings as well. So there is a report called as something like this, an email level report. So how many test cases were there, how many passed, how many skipped, what are the parameters, data read from Excel, right? What were the exceptions? So this is another form of report. This is TestNG report, TestNG email level report. Then we have something called as a report entry, a report something like this. How many tests are passed, skipped, failed. With a fail, you will gonna get a screenshot. You click on it, it opens up in a new page. So the screenshot, the link that you see over here, it's not provided by this report. You have to design it on your own. You can customize this report. Write a simple code, create a screenshot. Write a simple code, create a link. Right? So these are some of the things that we'll be learning, different interactive reports. Once the test case execution is done, how we can add multiple reports. And these are the things which are not provided by Selenium, not provided by Java. Again, there are different projects, different APIs available. So all these are available in a form of a different jar files. And maybe once the report is generated, what you want to do is you want to send this report to your test manager. You want to email this report to test manager, to developer, to client. So one of the things is either you manually write an email, attach this report and send it. But you want the entire process to be automated. So you'll be using Java Mail API. So I'm going to write some code that will automatically attach this report to your email and send it to the concerned team once the automation test execution is over, right? So this is another API, another jar. So your Selenium IDE is not capable of doing all this. These stuff are handled via programming part only. And that too very basic code job, right? Okay. Now, what is
Rahul,
Maven?
I have a question here.
Uh-huh.
Many a times candidates are asked in interviews that have you had an experience in framework design or framework development? What do they expect out of this question? I mean, what is it?
Framework designing is not a task of a single person, or frameworks are not designed in one single day, right? It's a complete team effort. At times, there are developers also involved in designing the architecture, and then the automation team, based on their experience, they'll be working on the framework. So if you are having like 1 year or 2 year of experience and you're working as an automation test engineer, then you will be working on that framework. You'll be using various utilities from that framework and generating test cases out of that framework. If you are more experienced, if you're very good in the programming part, then your role could be of an architect level as well. You will be involved in designing the framework. You'll be involved in designing various utilities in the framework as well, right? Because framework, as I said, it's a one-time effort, and the framework once designed is used for long term. And if the framework design is not up to the level, then in future you may gonna face a lot of issues. So that's the reason it's a team effort, and people with good experience in automation, they are involved in designing various utilities of the framework.
Rahul, what does this framework do actually? Because we see a lot of utilities already mentioned here. Do we need something on top of it? Is it something custom, or is it something which gives a UI to the?
See, framework is basically, framework is nothing. It's your project. Your automation project is actually called as framework. Automation project consists of all these utilities that I've mentioned over here. So all these things, you'll be seeing it inside one single project. And framework, a good framework is something which is called a well-optimized code. You have created so many reusable components, as in which requires very less effort while creating test cases. So most of the things are designed, let's say a framework is fully designed. Now we will ask automation test engineers to write test cases. With a very minimum code, they should be able to create all the test cases. Right? They need not to write the entire code again for doing Excel reading, writing, for sending out mails. For everything, you've already created some reusable functions. So as an end tester, as an automation tester, I just need to call those functions and perform all the activities. So let's say in a framework, there are some keywords available. There is something approach called as keyword-driven approach. So what is that? Let's say there are some keywords we have created called as click. Now there is a keyword called as type. Now I'm automating a website. These keywords are available in a framework. So I want to click on any link. I'll simply call the keyword click and give that link. I want to type it in the username. I'll call type, and the username, provide the value as your name. That's it. So this is how you will be automating the website. At the backend, it is the code that is working, which is written in the beginning when the framework was designed. So once a framework is designed, the effort is very less at that. I mean, when we are automating a website, writing test cases, we just need to call these keywords and automate the entire website. That's it. Right?
Yeah. One supplementary question here around, is there anything which gives us a UI interface to automate in the entire set of utilities what is mentioned here?
See, yes, at times, as I said, there are development teams also involved. So anything that is feasible in Java, see why Selenium is very popular. If we talk about QTP, UFT, RFT, these are automation tools. And every automation tool has got some boundary. Let's say QTP has got 100 features. So you can use those 100 features only and you can automate your website. If you want to do anything out of box, you want to integrate something, and that feature is not supported by QTP, UFT, then what will you do? You will go to HP and they'll tell you that, okay, we have an add-on available. You just buy this add-on and that feature is also supported. But add-ons are also designed by a developer. If add-on is there, you can use that feature. You can implement it. If add-on is not there, then again, you are restricted. You cannot use that feature. But with Selenium, as I said, Selenium is not an automation tool. Anything that is feasible in Java, we can achieve that thing with Selenium. So all these things that you see are not part of Selenium. Now, like you said, that can we create a UI, a GUI, and integrate all this click and type so that a user can navigate to a URL and select, click, select, type, and automate the website. So that thing can also be done. These things are actually done using Spring framework. So a developer integrate a Spring framework and integrate the UI development part. And at the backend, they map all this Java code with all the keywords. So as an end user, if let's say if a manual tester is there who is not having good command over the code, he'll get that UI. In the UI, he'll select click, he'll provide the element on which we need to perform click, and can automate the entire website by just selecting and clicking. That's it. Right. So this is what one of the best thing of Selenium, that anything you can achieve with Selenium, you can integrate with Selenium. There is no boundaries because Selenium is not a tool. That is the reason why Selenium is very popular in the industry. Anything that you can imagine in Java, integrate that with Selenium. So that is the reason a lot of integrations available. Right?
Yeah, right.
So at times, many powerful frameworks are developed, right? Not just in one day, it takes months to develop those frameworks. And there are a lot of integrations being done. So it's like a never-ending process. Once you are entering into automation, Selenium specifically, then it's like never-ending learning. So down the line, you have more and more experience. You'll be integrating so many stuff with Selenium. You're going to see so many things coming up in the coming years. And the more experience you have, the more salary packages will be according to that. So it's like endless. I mean, the scope of Selenium is endless. And it's there in the market from long time, right? So that's the best thing why we should learn Selenium. Okay, so now what is Maven?
A dependency tool, build dependency.
Sorry,
tool.
it's
a dependency tool.
It's a dependency tool. Maven is a dependency management tool.
Also called a build tool. A build tool.
Plus it's a build tool. Perfect. So let's say I'm using this Eclipse over here, right? I've written some code and I'm clicking on the run button and I'm executing the test. Now what happens? My client also want to execute the test, but client is not a technical person. He'll not be able to understand what code is written over here, how to do all the process. So what I'll do, I'll give something like this to the client file, this to the client. Let's say if I go over here, I'll give like this. This is, I'll send to desktop, something like this. If I double click on it, let's see what happens. So it's running the test suite, and see a browser launches. It's navigating to the website, and all the steps will be executed accordingly. Let's see. See, the data will be read from Excel, and the test execution completed. See, and if there is a Java mail API attached to it, at the end, mail will automatically be triggered and client will receive an email with all the test results, the reporting attached. So nowhere client is using Eclipse and looking at your code and doing all those stuff. So this entire building process, the building up of code and executing your project is done with the help of Maven. So Maven is a build tool, plus it is a dependency management tool. Now, what is dependency? We'll be looking at it very soon. If we get some time, today, I'm going to show you how we can manage the dependencies as well. So this is done with the help of Maven. Now, next thing after this comes, what is Jenkins? So Jenkins supports your CI, CD. You must have heard about these things very often these days. CI, CD. What is the CI, CD? What is Jenkins?
It is a continuous integration and continuous deployment tool.
Yeah. So what is that?
Which is used to automate our process. Like even though when you are running the suite, you are doing it manually. So we can use Jenkins to automate it for a specific time or a day. So that is, I think, what is Jenkins.
Absolutely. So Jenkins is like a multi-purpose tool. There are so many things we can do. CI, CD, schedule the builds at a particular interval or after every 1 hour, and number of things we can do in Jenkins. Now, I'll take a very simple example. Let's say a client is sitting in US and I'm, let's say, in a different country, let's say in India. And now my client want to run all the test cases. So it's one of the things I've shown you, like I've created a batch file, we double click on it and it runs. But for this batch file, the entire setup has to be on the same machine. If I give you this batch file and you put it on your machine, you'll not be able to execute the test, right? Because all the test has to be on that particular machine where the batch file is. Now, client wants to do all the execution, but client does not have all that set up on his machine. So what I'll do, I'll gonna give some URL to the client. That is something like this. So now, right now it is localhost, but once it is mapped with your company's IP, then it will be like jenkins.ibm.com, something like that. And client will gonna enter through his username, password, click on sign in, and then he'll gonna see something like this. And he'll gonna see a job, your project, that is, let's say a page object model project. He'll just gonna click on this schedule button. And you're gonna see a build will be triggered over here. I'll show you what is going inside this build. See, running test suite. Now you're gonna see a browser launch. See a browser launch over here. And it is going to execute all your test cases. Let's see. Okay, so this is a little bit test. So let it execute.
So what this test is actually doing, it is going to each and every car and getting all the car details. So that's the reason it's a little lengthy test. We'll be learning all these things. So how to set up Jenkins, how we'll be automating all these steps. So we'll be designing the entire framework from scratch. So getting the car prices. I think there should be the last definition. Let's see. See all the Maruti car prices for different car brands are being printed over here. Just yeah, I think so many steps are there. Let me stop this. So once the build is successfully done, it is going to generate the extend reports over here. Right now, I've just stopped it in between, so maybe it's not fully generated. Yeah, it's not fully generated over here, but these reports are actually available. It's crashed. It's not even over here. Anyways, these reports are also integrated. I have to stop it in between. That's the reason it's not fully prepared, but you're going to see the reporting part included over here. So this is right now the reports are broken. So yeah, so client will actually going to go over here. It is going to schedule the build. He'll going to see at the end how many test cases are getting passed, getting failed in one single UI itself. So client need not to worry about having the complete installation. This Jenkins will be installed on one dedicated machine, right? And anyone can access this Jenkins machine from any part of the world. You just need to enter his user credentials and then schedule the build and check how many test cases are getting passed or how many test cases are getting failed. So this is one of the tasks of Jenkins. Then there are so many things we can do with Jenkins. We can trigger this build on a particular interval. We want that once in a day, they should automatically run. Or after every 1 hour, the build should automatically run. So that also thing we can do. We can do continuous integration and a number of things are there. So we're going to see Jenkins once we start learning Jenkins. So this is what your Jenkins is. And then there are so many frameworks, which is called as data driven, which is called as page object, model, page factories, and one keyword driven approach, Cucumber VGD. So
So these are the frameworks that you will be learning. So data-driven, page object, page factory, keyword-driven will be doing 2 live projects from the scratch in the live sessions. This Cucumber BDD, we are not covering in the live session, but it is already available in the automation architect course. And this Cucumber BDD in the live session, we are doing in the API testing course. So you can follow this from the live sessions of the API testing as well, because you all have will gonna have access to all other courses as well for the live training. So this you can study it from the API testing course as well. But these are some of the approaches that we'll be designing from scratch, right? And then GitHub is basically an area where we maintain our project code, because we'll not be keeping the code on our local machine. We have to check in the code on some centralized repository. So Git and GitHub is actually used for that, right? So these are some of the things which you can integrate with Selenium. Rest, there are so many other things as well. The Dockers can be integrated, Kubernetes can be integrated, and number of other things which can be integrated with Selenium. Which framework is best to work with? Page object model is 90% used in the industry. Even if you're following data-driven, keyword-driven, Cucumber BDD approach, page object model is used everywhere, right? So this is very important for you, and we'll be designing this from scratch.
Sir, page object
All right.
is used with data-driven or keyword-driven, or it is used separately?
See, page object model can be implemented independently as well, but data-driven is just an approach. If you are reading data from Excel, if your test data is in Excel, we call it as a data-driven, right? So page object model is a design pattern. So all these things can be integrated in one single project as well.
So can we call it as a hybrid model then, Rahul?
Yeah, we can call it as a hybrid. Data plus
Okay.
page object plus keyword is also called as a hybrid framework. Normally, these are not any tools. These are not like in case of QTP, UFT, we have different features called as keyword driven or data driven. But here, these are not frameworks. These are, you can call them as approaches. If you are writing keyword, we call it as a keyword driven approach. If you're reading data from Excel, we call it as a data driven approach. If we are implementing the page objects, we call it as a page object model framework. Combinedly, all these things, we call it as a hybrid framework, right? So there is no predefined utility or a jar file which you call it as a hybrid framework. It's just an approach that we'll be trying. So Nikhil is asking, is there anything licensed here? No, there is nothing licensed. All these are open source. No license required for all these things.
Okay, and these are what? Sashi, अपनी priority है या these are the ones which are being नहीं ठीक है ना अपनी priority तुमने research तो किया ही होगा ना
Sorry, I didn't get you.
So this is Northwestern is UP.
Can you mute
Northwestern.
please
Okay.
yourself?
Okay.
Swati, there's a background noise from your end.
Sashi ये Northwestern कहाँ पे है?
Chicago. Okay, let me. Okay. Guys, please put yourself on mute if you're not asking any question.
Sir, actually, I'm having a confusion with this page object model thing. Like I have seen, like on many, Google search while searching, it is like written that page object model is a design technique and not the framework. And
The design pattern.
so for framework, they add only like data-driven and keyword-driven. They call it. So I always
all these are design patterns.
Okay.
All these are design patterns. The framework is TestNG.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, framework is something we also call Selenium as a framework, right? So why Selenium is a framework? Because Selenium has got everything predefined in a form of a project. We are just using that project. We are calling different methods, different classes, and we are automating a website. So Selenium gives you everything to automate a website. So we call it Selenium as a framework. Similarly, TestNG gives you everything which converts your existing code into test cases, define the flow of your project, which thing to run first, which thing to run after that, how many test cases are executed, how many test cases have failed. So TestNG is a framework which is managing your entire project. Right? So we call TestNG is a framework. So whenever in an interview it's been asked like which framework that you have worked on, you need to tell them that you have worked on TestNG framework, and then you have implemented various design patterns, including page object model, page factory, data driven, keyword driven approach. So all these approaches that you have implemented. Right? So it's like from QTB time, we have been hearing that we have a framework called as keyword driven framework. We have a framework called as data driven framework, but it's not like that with Selenium. With Selenium, these are only approaches. These are the design patterns. The framework is your testing.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Bhumi. Cucumber VDG is ongoing with the API testing classes. So right now we are covering, we just started with rest assured, I guess, or maybe next week we'll be starting with rest assured, and then the framework will be designing using the Cucumber VDD over there. So two frameworks you'll be learning over here. Cucumber VDD you'll be learning in API. The timings for API testing classes are 10 a.m. India time. Right? So if you can attend, you can attend both the classes in parallel as well. You can attend Selenium at 8 p.m. India time and API testing at 10 a.m. India time, because API testing is also very important, right? So we have seen yesterday, I've written something over here that Selenium is only for web-based testing, but right now we have seen we can integrate database as well. No, a link for API testing is different. You must have received an email with all the meeting invites. So you need to look for the API testing link. Okay. Let's come back over here. Yeah, 10 a.m. IST. Selenium is for web-based testing only, but we can integrate database as well, right? Just by including one single JDBC jar file, we can perform database testing as well. Now we can also perform testing on mobile applications as well using APM. Now APM is nothing, it's again another jar file. I'll show you one example of APM. Let me see if I can connect my mobile device. Just give me a moment. Let me connect my mobile device and I'll show you using the same code that we write for Selenium. You can execute that code on your real mobile device as well. What I'll do, I'll not the project for it. Okay. Okay, so this is my device. Let's go to this first. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll run this code. This is for making a phone call. Before that, I'll show you this Chrome code. See, this is what we did. driver.getgoogle.com, driver.findelement, something like this, right? And then driver.create. Just that when you are working with Firefox or Chrome, you use Firefox driver for Firefox, you use Chrome driver for Chrome. Now you're working on Android, so you'll be using Android driver instead of Firefox driver or Chrome driver. Rest of the code remains same. So if I run this code, what it will do, it will launch Chrome on the real device and then perform the same execution. Let's see. Let's run it. And let's look at the real device. See, it launched the Chrome browser. Navigating to Google. And we'll type hello APM. And then we'll quit. Right? Same way, I can make a phone call. And see. See. Dialing a number. Dialing numbers. Click on dial. And then required to work on APM as well. So all this is open source. If you know Selenium, same code you'll be writing it with APM. Perform click, 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 click. That's it. So that's what your APM is. Means you know Selenium, you can automate web-based, you can automate database, you can also automate mobile application. And APM guys itself, they have created a library which is called as, if you go to this APM Pro, their website, where they maintain all the blogging stuff. If you go to all edition and search for and start from APM on Windows, this testing window desktop apps with APM. So they have created something called as WinApp driver. And if you go down, you can see that the code written over here is using driver.findelement. So what you can do, you can launch a notepad and you can automate a notepad as well, the desktop applications, right? So same thing, the complete Selenium is used over here. So if you know Selenium, you can automate web-based, mobile-based, desktop, database, and the last important stuff that are web services. So web services, what are web services? Although it's a very detailed theory for a person who is new to web services, so I'm not going to cover that right now, but we are already running a web services batch. So you can go through those recordings and you can, from the very first session, you're going to come to know what are web services and what is the importance of that. Because these days, every web application, be it Facebook, Amazon, Flipkart, any e-commerce application, any banking application, they cannot work without APIs. So testing of APIs are very important these days. Sina is asking, can this be done on iPhone? Yes, APM is for iOS and Android both. In the APM course, if you check in the video library, I've covered the entire iOS part as well. Yes, Bhumi, we do have REST API automation classes. From the next week itself, we are starting with the automation part of REST API. We are already done with Postman. Postman is for manual testing. Now we are going to start with REST Assured from the next week. And REST Assured is what? It's again another jar file. So these days, the frameworks are designed in such a way that if an application, a web application, has their mobile application as well, and has APIs as well. You can handle all these things in one single Java project. That is what, that is why the Selenium is very important, because when you're working on Selenium, you can integrate all these things in one single project, in one single framework. So that's why, I mean, there is no license for Selenium, no boundary for Selenium. Anything feasible in Java can be integrated with Selenium. So that is one of the best. REST assured, REST APIs. See, REST assured is a framework, right? Again, there's a background noise. Please, Ashwini, please put yourself on mute. Thank you. Okay. So REST assured is a framework. REST APIs are your web services. So we have REST, we have SOAP. These days in the market, only REST services are being used. Right? So REST assured is a framework that can automate your REST APIs. Right? Normally through Postman, you do manual testing. But now frameworks, you have designed a framework through which you're automating your website. You're automating your mobile application. Now company want that in the same framework. We don't want to invest into a different tool called as SOAP UI or any other tool. We don't want to buy license for it. We have a framework developed which is supporting the UI part, which is supporting the mobile part. And now we want to automate our APIs as well. So for that, we integrate the REST assured jar. Like the way we have added POI jar, we have added the JDBC jar. You just need to add one single REST assured jar file and you can automate your web services as well, your REST APIs as well. So that is what I mean. But initially, when you're getting started, you start with the UI automation. That is the reason I said Selenium is a base for your automation testing. So once your base is successfully built up, in order to build up this base, you are learning a programming language, a basic programming, that is core Java. And that programming is required for Selenium, is required for APM, is required for database, is required for web services as well. So if your basic Java concepts are clear, you should be able to automate all these applications in one single project. And then later on, you can integrate the DevOps tools as well. So you can extend your learning to the next level. So you should have knowledge of these DevOps tools. You should have knowledge of the Selenium, there's APM, there's web services. These are the things which are required in industry. And automation test engineer with 3 years, with 5 years of experience should have knowledge of all these things. Right? But don't be worried about it. You need to start with Selenium first.
What's the timing of REST issue?
It's 10 a.m. India time, 10 a.m. IST.
10 a.m.
Yeah. So even if you are not able to attend the session,
and where I can find those lecture, because 10
you
a.m.
can find it over here, and then I'll show it to you. Go to the portal selenium-tutorial.com and go to all courses. So if you have already an account, you just need to log in and go to this web services. And down here, you can follow this. So today we covered the Postman. Today was the last session. That was day 6 of Postman. And then from the next week, we are starting with the REST assured part. Right. So in case you want to be synced with this batch, then you have this whole week. Try to go through these 6 sessions from Monday to Friday. So you'll be in sync with the REST assured batch as well.
Thank you.
Right? Parallelly, you can do both UI as well as API testing. And once in 3 months' time, once you're done with Selenium, you should have good knowledge on API as well. So you can add all this stuff in your resume and can prepare a solid resume for UI and the API automation. Mobile automation is very simple. We'll be learning in the Selenium course at the end. Whatever that example that I've shown you today, will be doing that practically, will be learning that thing. Because in APM, the only challenging part is the configuration. So we'll be learning the detailed configuration, and then rest code is of Selenium only. And you should be able to follow that down easily. Lakshmikant, right now security testing batch is not there at the moment, but I'm in a search of instructor for security testing as well. So once I find it, we may gonna organize a training very soon for it. And that will be added to the lifetime membership only. You need not to separately enroll for it.
Can you guide from where we can practice Java coding? For example, question asked in interview related to palindrome, reverse string, some printing related questions.
There are so many websites like Coding Pat is there, and number of websites for Java practice is there, and plus I do have a lot of interview questions for Java that I can forward it to you. But again, Java, the topics are endless, right? So like I would also recommend you to join some Facebook communities as well, where there are a lot of testers added, some software testing groups, because I've seen on a daily basis they keep on sharing into recent interviews related to what companies they are giving interviews, what sort of questions are being asked. So you just try to follow up on those things as well. And plus, since we have formed up a WhatsApp group where other students are also added, I would recommend to share these information with each other as well. So let's say if someone got some good reference material on interview questions for Java, for Selenium, you are free to share that in the group as well. There is no restrictions on that. So this way, your learning will also gonna increase. Do we have plan for Selenium C#? We do have a plan for it, but right now I'm getting very less student demand for it. That's the reason I have actually hold that batch. Otherwise, we do look for starting Selenium C# as well in future. Right now Python is increasing, the demand is increasing on a daily basis, and we have started a Selenium Python batch as well 2 weeks back. Okay, so that's all, guys. I think we should not start with the coding part today, because there are many people joining as a demo session, and many new people who have joined who have not yet started with the Java part. So you guys will be continuing with the Java sessions from next week. So officially we can say that there's new batches starting from next Saturday itself. So like students who are new can enroll yourself and start joining in, and rest people who have already completed your Java part, you will be in the same group. I'm gonna send out the new meeting invite, which will gonna follow it throughout the WebDriver sessions. And for the new batch, I'll be forming up a WhatsApp group soon, in a day or two, and we're gonna send out the new meeting invites for the Java batch. So just stay. Just watch that WhatsApp group for the updates on the meeting invites, and I'll also gonna send it to you over the email as well. All right, SpecFlow is used with C#.
I do have a question regarding the batches you are going to start. So you did mention that the official batch is going to start for Java from next week. So is this batch going to get split out between the Selenium WebDriver, learning about the WebDriver, and then the basic Java?
Absolutely. Just there are many students who have joined us as a demo, and there are many students who have recently enrolled. So those students will be moved to the Java batch, and rest there are people who have already completed the Java part and have joined the Selenium part now. Will be continuing in the same batch, and we're gonna start with the WebDriver topics from next week.
Okay, so I'm interested in learning the Java first, followed by the web.
Yes.
Okay, so you will be sending out. I am not. I did not sign up for any of the WhatsApp group. So will you be sending out an email as well?
I'll be sending out all the information on your email. And in case people who are new attending as a demo, Then for enrollment stuff, you can look at this page. If you go to waytoautomation.com, you just need to go to this lifetime membership menu, and you're going to see all the detailed information about the lifetime membership program, what all ongoing trainings are going on, what all courses that you're going to get access to. And for enrollment, you can directly do it from this link. From here itself, once you're enrolled, you can attend all future courses for free. Right. Okay, Sujita is asking, are we going to start DevOps classes in new? I guess one of the batch we ended today itself for DevOps. Then the next batch will be scheduled very soon. So you can attend that as well. I mean, next to next week, we are planning to start one batch for manual testing. After that week, we will plan for the DevOps part. Yes, but we do have a plan for DevOps. So
Or for DevOps, can you have a recordings? Means I'm not talking about a live recording, like you.
Yeah, I understand your point, Tushar. Yeah, I do have a plan. Maybe I myself will gonna record the DevOps sessions, and then I'll prepare a video library on that as well.
Yeah, that way it is better.
Yeah, I'll do
Thank
that.
you.
Sure.
So Rahul, I do have one more question. So yesterday I missed a class because of the personal reason. So did I do I need to do anything regarding the Java? Like, is any prerequisite that I need to download certain
No, I mean,
tools or
yesterday
anything?
was an introductory class. It was an introductory class, so there was no Java covered. I'll be sharing the recordings with you. I've already uploaded it, but it's on YouTube. I'll be sharing the links to everyone. Once I upload today's recording, I'll share it with everyone. Jyotsna, yeah, just drop me an email, like for the WhatsApp group edition. I'm gonna add it. The email ID is this: trainer@waytoautomation.com. All right. So thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot for joining in. Hope you have enjoyed the session, and we're gonna meet next Saturday for the upcoming sessions.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Rahul.
Thank you.
Thank you all for
Thank you.
joining
Bye.
in.